With December being just a few days away now, I thought it's the perfect time to cover scale fluctuations. Picture this: you've spent a week in a deficit, you've shredded a kilo, yes. You've gone for a meal out on Saturday, 'tis the season, and you regain that kilo and then some. If you don't know where the majority of this weight gain is coming from, this whole thing can be really, really demotivating. But rest assured that the weight gain is not from you undoing a week's hard work. A tiny amount of it will be from body fat regain, yes, but the rest of it, the majority of it, will be from everything else that impacts the scales. So your body has what's known as glycogen stores, stored carbs in the muscles and liver. The liver contains 80 to 100 grams of glycogen, and the muscles hold on to 400 to 800 grams of glycogen, depending on how jacked you are. And every gram of glycogen holds on to 3 to 4 grams of water. If you combine the weight of the muscle and liver glycogen and then add the 3 to 4 grams of water that each gram of glycogen is holding on to, you end up at 2 to 4.5 kgs. That's a lot of weight. Let's simplify the maths and say each gram of glycogen holds onto just 3 grams of water, so the lower end of the range. When we add this to the middle ranges of liver and muscle glycogen storage, we end up at around 2.7 kg. If someone has been in a deficit and they've been breaking into this glycogen storage, particularly if they've been low carb, they can see some pretty substantial scale increases from just one carb heavy refeed. You've also got to account for the weight of the food. For example, let's say, let's take an 8-ounce steak, because we know how much that weighs. An 8-ounce steak is around 0.2 kg, and the weight of that food, it's still passing through the digestive system when you weigh in the next day. Obviously, we don't just have a steak. We will have had loads of chips with it as well, and that will have added to the glycogen storage. They will have been salty, which means our body will retain more water, and naturally, when we eat more salt, we tend to take on more fluids, and this fluid, it weighs X amount. For example, a liter of water is around a kilo. That's not fat gain, but it's a kilo, it's weight. All this stuff combined adds up to a ridiculous amount of weight, and it's none of it's body fat. Yes, if you've eaten in a surplus, you'll have gained some body fat, but most of it will be all this other stuff that really impacts the scales. When you have these higher calorie days, 3rd December, and the scales jump up, even if it's just a kilo, but maybe it's a couple of kilo increase, all you need to do is jump straight back on plan. Well, refeed days are kind of part of the plan. You were expecting to have these refeed days, especially around Christmas time. It's all part of the plan. 'Tis the season. But you see the scale increase, all you need to do is jump straight back on it the next day, and you'll be surprised by how quickly the scales will head back in the right direction. Yes, we don't want to be overly focused on the scales, but the scales are a good tool to measure fat loss. If the scales are overall heading in the, overall coming down, you have body fat to lose, you can be pretty confident that you are shredding body fat. If you are in a perceived deficit, so you think you're in a deficit, but the scales are week on week continuing to increase, then you are probably not in a calorie deficit. You might think you're in a calorie deficit. It's a perceived deficit, but in reality, it's a slight surplus because it's resulting in weight gain. It's resulting in fat gain. We are expecting to see the scales come down, but we know that all these other things, particularly glycogen, can really, really impact the scales. So don't be disheartened. Don't get demotivated by these scale fluctuations. They are normal. Just dive straight back on it.